The bodyguard pictured with Meghan and Prince Harry is a former Met cop convicted of strangling his wife so that she momentarily died. The bodyguard pictured with Prince Harry and Meghan is a former Met police officer convicted of strangling his wife so she died seconds, Royal News can reveal. Pierre d'Aubry, 51, was photographed driving the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in a Range Rover on September 5 as they left Frogmore Cottage on their way to Euston Station in London. Despite his pivotal role in protecting the celebrity couple, d'Aubry was found guilty by Colchester Magistrates Court in September 2016 of assaulting his wife, Sarah J., a former Essex police sergeant, after saying that she no longer loves him. The 6'7" and bodybuilder only escaped prison because he phoned 999 and confessed to his crimes, while his wife took her own life in 2019 after she described him as crazy. The revelation will come to the attention of many as Meghan has long advocated for women's rights and campaigned against gender-based violence. During the couple's tour of South Africa in 2019, Meghan said in an ActionAid statement that men and boys must be held accountable for their actions. One source said,
"When you consider how outspoken Meghan is on women's issues, it's amazing that a bodyguard with such experience has been recruited. His wife Sarah went through a really grieving time with him, and I'm sure if Meghan and Harry knew the full story, they wouldn't have felt at all comfortable with him being hired." Bodyguard. It was quite a shock when I saw the photo and recognized Pierre immediately. He's quite tall and distinctive, and he has significant scars on his face, so it's easy to recognize. Peel treated Sarah horribly, and Sarah had to escape through a window twice to get away from him. Harry and Meghan don't want someone like him protecting them. No.
In a shocking interview after the ruling, Jay said,
"I suffered for 2 years at the hands of this madman. I am devastated that he is not incarcerated. He deserves it. It's horrible for anyone to do this. It's outrageous for a police officer to do what he did. He almost killed me. He just slapped me on the wrist."
"What is it supposed to deter other men for?" she added.
"When I met him, I was a strong, confident, capable woman. I never imagined I would be a victim of domestic violence. I was scared and isolated and had no one to turn to."
When meeting Mrs. J, who had a daughter in her previous relationship, shockingly revealed,
"I was only seconds away from death. It scares me."
She recalled the incident, which began after an altercation in her bedroom in December 2015, in which she said,
"I suggested he go to the gym to calm himself down and tried to stay away from him. He grabbed me. The next thing I remember, he was lying on his back. It was hard to breathe. I could feel his anger. He put his hands around my neck and was choking me. All I could focus on was staying alive. I was out of breath, but I couldn't breathe. I noticed. Trying to do that was the last I remember." At his trial, the Colchester Magistrates Court told the Met that he heard a former police officer with whom he had served for 12 years tell his attendant on his 999 call, "I want to report a robbery, but I am the perpetrator. I attacked his wife." When asked by the operator if her wife needed an ambulance, the father of 4 responded, "Yes, I tried to strangle her." In the attack, Mrs. J also suffered scratches and pain on her neck, scratches on her back, and swelling on her forehead.
News of d'Aubry's conviction will come as an embarrassment to Harry and Meghan, who have been working to raise awareness of domestic violence through the Art Jewell Foundation. Last year, it was revealed that the foundation donated to the Dallas-based charity Genesis Women's Shelter in support after being hit by a rainstorm. As domestic violence activist David Challen said,
"Pierre d'Aubry is a violent convicted domestic abuser, and she should be in prison rather than Harry and Meghan as a bodyguard. d'Aubry strangled his ex-wife Sarah J, and after a 2-year campaign of mental and physical torture, he was never sentenced. With Sarah losing her battle with PTSD and depression and committing suicide, d'Aubry's new role as the Sussexes' trusted protector is nothing less than an affront to Sarah J's memory of her. The security team that hired d'Aubry must be aware of his background, and his trust in him stands in stark contrast to the issues of women's rights and domestic violence that the Sussexes valiantly champion. We sincerely hope that the Sussexes are aware of this and that this man is removed from his role in Sarah's family immediately."
d'Aubry was married to Mrs. J for 2 years, but he strangled her. He later denied the assault but was found guilty after a trial. At the hearing, d'Aubry claimed he used a police-approved chokehold to stop Mrs. J from overdosing on prescription drugs at her home in the picturesque Essex village of Thorpe-le-Soken. However, the judge outright dismissed his evidence and convicted him of assault. The violation was so serious that he could have been jailed, but instead he was given a 12-week suspended sentence. Colchester Magistrates Court Bank Chief Alex Mason explained why the judgment was suspended.
"It was a very awkward attack on Mrs. J, and she was clearly frightened. No credit for early guilty pleas. Nonetheless, we confirm that you had no criminal record and had the decency to call 999.
The defendant was also sentenced to 200 hours of unpaid work and his 1-year restraining order. He was also ordered to pay Mrs. J a total of £1,665, including her £930 damages and her £620 court costs. After leaving the Met, Dabri worked as a security guard for many VIPs and wealthy individuals in Australia and Europe, previously protecting members of the UAE royal family. While in the Met, he served as a firearms officer, providing close protection and diplomatic protection, according to his LinkedIn profile.
My experience and skills. I am a close protection agent and surveillance. I have previously served clients in Sydney, Australia, Dubai, and across Europe. He describes himself as a security advisor, security driver, surveillance officer, physical penetration officer.
He has 4 children from his 2 previous relationships but had no children with Mrs. J. During his trial, the court heard that after leaving the Met, Dabri worked in Australia under strict protection and returned to his married home in December 2015. J told the court,
"When he came back, I didn't recognize him as the same person. I told him I didn't love him and didn't recognize him as the person I married." She started screaming angrily and approached her lying on her bed. She was trying to escape. She added, "He grabbed me. I don't know if I was pushed or fell, but the next thing I remember was lying on my back between the bed and the wall. My legs were in the air and were pressed against my throat. It was difficult to breathe." Dabri was driving Harry and Meghan's Range Rover with former Met colleague Dave Langdown. In the past, he accompanied Duchess Meghan to a baby shower in New York and traveled with Harry on a trip to Las Vegas, where Prince Harry famously played in a pool naked with strippers.
Langdown worked for the U.S. company Broadstone Risks, which has clients such as Beyonce and Jay-Z, and accompanied a royal engagement in the UK. Harry and Meghan are believed to be paying for Langdown and Dabri's services after being told they would not receive taxpayer-funded armed police bodyguards. When Royal News showed her Dabri's parents, who live in North London, a photo of them with Harry and Meghan, they confirmed it was their son, adding, "I was."
He never tells us about her work. We didn't know he was protecting her, but we're so proud of him. Don't miss her royal story on the Royal News channel.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe and turn on bell notifications so you don't miss any daily updates from the royal family.